This is a warning. What you are about to see here is the stuff I did on my 1980 Corolla. A lot of it very cringeworthy, but a lot of learning. So just warning you beforehand. 2005. I got the car. Here's the shape it was in. I drove it from Wyoming to Salt Lake City. It made the drive. It appeared to have a stuck caliper, got like less than 20 miles per gallon, so the carburetor was in rough shape, as was most of the car, but it ran and drive. So really, who am I to complain? I think I paid like 400 bucks for it. So I didn't feel like it's too bad. Here you see, I removed the bumpers, you know, the bumper guards and little things. Cleaned up okay. I mean, for just a quick and dirty, hey, let's clean it up a little. Obviously, I didn't clean it up enough, but she ran. At this point, I never got the car registered. It was more of a, okay, I'm going to start tinkering around. I had a lot of things I wanted to do. Um, so it was more of just get it running. Occasionally drove it around the block, and that was really it. I mean, I knew I wanted to redo everything the other people had done, like shoddy carpets for the door cards and things like that. But I was also working part time and raising a kid, so not a whole lot to do. But I did save up for this, and that is an EFI manifold because I had decided I wanted to mega squirt the car and built. Oh, also got some A86 struts. That's a Mustang throttle body, 70 millimeter, and some 280Z wheels or 280ZX, which I then promptly painted the centers. Anyway, off to 2008 when I actually started doing something. I think this was around the time I actually got a proper paying job, but I didn't use it on the car yet. You see here a very shoddy paint job. Me and my kids toyed around with the Rust-Oleum thinned out and using a roller on it. And at that time, I started stripping out all the carburetor goodies that were on the car. Also got a Saturn alternator. That's another thing you can do on the 3TC engines is Saturn alt. It'll give you more output. I built that with my shaky hands and all, but that's about where the car left off until 2009. This was the year that I actually got a house. Me and the now wife got the house. I moved the car over and actually start spending some more time trying to get Mega Squirt in. Got some injectors out of a V8 Ford Thunderbird. That was, I can't remember what the hell that was for. There's the trigger wheel. I ended up, well, let's just keep going with the pictures. More wiring. This was all new to me. So, got the fuel pressure regulator. Bought an EIDS kit off of a Ford Escort and didn't use its trigger wheel. 2010 distributor. Uh, there's the new plug for the alternator. I was trying to figure out things there on what I need to splice in and figure out. Started removing things from the interior, all fine and dandy. Um, in these next few pictures, it's me trying to get the alternator to fit in there and have some form of bracket adjustment. This was using the original bracket on the old alternator. Um, with that, now let's see if it keeps going that way. Okay, I was making a bracket to hold the relay box, and then here I was trying some different things to I don't know what I was thinking, don't mind me. It wasn't a smart move. So have the trigger wheel on, have the alternator on. Also got an EGR block off, fuel pump block off. I have no idea why that picture made it in there. Prepping the manifold, just try and get things ready. There's a lot of Home Depot trips and not knowing what the hell I was doing for brackets and things. Remove the EGR and then I'd found little stubs that you could just screw in to under the head. So here was an alternator bracket, or one of them, that I trimmed up so it gave me more movement of the alternator. I also relocated the battery to the trunk, so there's that. Here you see the wiring for the Megasquirt. You know, you learn a lot when you're like, hey, I'm going to do Megasquirt, because you kind of have to learn a lot. There is a lot of info out there, but you also need to figure things out. And all the mounting, everything in here, I look back on, I'm like, this is very cringeworthy. Like that fuel pressure regulator, how I mounted the wasted spark or whatever, and the trigger. Just so much cringe. Please don't judge me too much. I deserve some of it, but don't judge. um, the strut housings, just trying to clean them up and get them ready to install. Stripping everything down. And that was a fairly easy upgrade. I mean, just had to replace the cartridges in the old strut housings. Not a big deal. I used truck bed liner there just to kind of make it a little less noisy. Here, I decided I didn't like... Anyway, here's the fuel tank. Here's what's more important. That is a kind of baffled job that a radiator shop did in my area. And I love it. It's actually worked fairly well for the car, but I've never actually done autocross or anything with it, so what can you do? Carpet, that was actually, I like that carpet. It's not the greatest, but it works. Here's where I got the wideband and was trying to put some gauges in, was trying to improve my dash. I got MR2 seats in. Those required just a little bit of finagling, but they weren't that hard to install. You just had to open up some of the holes and hammer it down a little. Not a big deal. I felt the need to paint my oil cap, so don't mind me. Went gray headliner. Okay, a lot of this, I don't need to go over everything, but there's the carpet. That was one of my happier things. Here you start seeing signs of me trying to put some car audio in. Not the best stuff, but it worked for the time being. I picked a crappy stereo. The dual stereo I used was horrible. With that said, at this point, the car ran and drove. Had Megasquirt running on it. And yeah, here you have the first photos of it actually leaving my house. So, not too shabby. There was my poor attempt at, putting gauges in the dashboard. I didn't sand enough. I didn't a lot of things. Did a little bit of light reading. So, yeah, I mean, not the best of work, but the car ran. I was so excited. Then 2012, I decided to buy a turbo manifold. Never used it. That steering wheel was garbage. Don't buy cheap steering wheels. Just don't. I learned the hard way. Here I replaced all the bushings and then painted all the end links or linkage or whatever they're called. And this was the first time I took the car to a car meet of any type. Oh, there's a W50 transmission bell housing thing. Never used it either because I'm not using that engine anymore. Anyway, so got the steering wheel in. I liked the way the car looked, but some of the work I did was horrible. Anyway, off to 2013. I decided I wanted an Android dashboard. Here's me playing around with car audio again. Yada. Oh yeah, more suspension stuff. Don't mind that. Anyway, so I decided to use an Nexus 7 and Shadow Dash. Also got another cheap steering wheel. Again, don't do it. I didn't learn my lesson the first time. But I did get the Nexus working, and it actually worked fairly well. You get a Bluetooth adapter for Megasquirt, and the boot up time was the biggest problem. At this point, I also decided it needed to get painted. So used some black primer. I did not sand well. I did not dial in my gun. I did so much wrong while spending so much time to actually prep the car. I didn't prep everything like a dumbass. Remove windows, but don't sand it down to a metal. Don't ask me why I thought that. So as you can see, the paint wasn't perfect, but I felt at least it was going to work better. But I dialed the gun in so poorly that I went through 1 gallon and barely got like one coat on the entire car. Dial in your gun, learn. Spent some time on YouTube well after this so when I repaint the car. 2014, I believe that was mostly just, hey, I got to drive the car. It was rather uneventful. The Megasquirt worked flawlessly. My biggest problem was the cold start. I never really dialed it in. I have no cold start mechanism on it. So that's where we're at now. As you know, there'll be a replacement for the engine. But beyond that, we'll just have to see how it goes. Let's see if I can effectively put things together the right way and not cheap out on time. And that's been my biggest thing is I get impatient and just want to drive, want to enjoy. And then I shoot myself in the foot when I have to look back at it later. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm hoping this was semi-coherent. Thank you. Bye-bye.